Hello, welcome to Gurukul's CAT 100 series, a series that's designed specifically to take you from your study room to the corporate boardroom. I am Prady Sharma and this is Verbal Mastery with Prady. Hello everyone, welcome back to another video. This is your passage for today. In case you want to take this up as a test, all you got to do is go on to www.thegurukul.org.in, and once you click on the login button, you'd be taken to a page where you can sign up. You got to sign up to the 100 days to CAT test series. Now this is a completely free test series for all of you so that you can practice your quant, LRDI and verbal ability consistently for your CAT 2025 and crack it in your first attempt. Now, without any further ado, let's get into the passage and the questions. This is your first paragraph. Read the paragraph, jot down all the main points, and then we'll move on to the second paragraph. This is your second paragraph. Read the paragraph, jot down all the main points, then we'll move on to the third paragraph. This is your third and last paragraph. Read the paragraph, jot down all the main points, and then we're going to move into the questions. This is your question number 1. Read the question, answer it, and then we'll move into the question number 2. This is your question number 2. Read the questions, answer it, and then we'll move into the question number 3. This is your question number 3. Read the question, answer it, and then we'll move into the last question. Now, this is your last question. Read the question, answer it, and comment down your answers in the comment box so that we can cross-verify at the end when I'm giving you the question explanations how many of these questions you might have gotten correct. Now, without any further ado, let's move into the passage explanation. In the passage, what does he say? He says that in an age that spawned the ancient Roman and Egyptian empires, Mongolia's empire broke the rules of imperial expansion. Guys, we don't need to know how to pronounce this. This is not important. All the specific details you can actually leave out. Any names and all, you can just remember it as some empire. Okay. Long before the Mongol Empire arose, Asia's first nomadic empire, horse-riding ex-people conquered ethnic groups across the continent's northeastern and central expanses. So what do I understand? That the ex-empire, okay, was actually very powerful. It controlled a lot of land, right? It controlled lot of land. Right. So, next we see that a common political system headed by ex-imperial rulers formed about 209 BC and lasted for roughly 300 years. Unlike Rome in Egypt or mobile groups of ex-animal herders, accomplished this feat without building cities, forming central bureaucracies, devising a writing system, or mobilizing mass farmers to produce food. So, these people, the ex-empire or the people of the ex-empire did not have, they did not build cities, there was no central bureaucracy, they did not have a writing system. In fact, they did not even have farmers who produced food. They were completely nomadic. That means they kept on roaming around. So these animal herders, they actually had a common political system, a political system that was centralized, that was shared amongst people without having any of these things. So unlike Rome and Egypt, so Rome and Egypt had these things and that is why they could have a central system, but without anything as such. They had a common political system. Today, remnants of ex-culture largely consist of more than 7,000 tombs, some heavily looted and some many yet to be excavated in Mongolia and nearby parts of China and Russia. In the last decade, geneticists and archaeologists have ramped up efforts to study these sites and ancient records to decipher the ex-empire's political organization and technological achievements. A few ancient Chinese chronicles include descriptions of ex-empire's political system. So what are we getting to understand from this part? So from this part we understood that X had a common political system, okay, which did not depend on 4 factors. Okay, those 4 factors are these: building cities, central bureaucracies, writing systems, and farmers. Okay, and what do we understand from here? We understand that research is still going on. Right. So research is still going on, and what are we trying to understand in that research? We're trying to understand the political, organizational, and technical achievements. So research is still going on X, and we are trying to understand the political organization and technical achievements. So that is the idea. Those are the ideas that we get from the passage in the first page. Let's go to the second page. Okay, so what do we see here? These accounts portray the X as predatory riders. So the accounts in the China, Okay, those Chinese political accounts, they show X as predatory riders. So they keep on moving from one place to another, killing things and eating, or killing things and taking, who belong to a simple confederation of herding groups run by a few nomadic alpha males. That means there were some males who were trying to control and boss around and run this entire show. Even so, warfare with mounted ex-warriors equipped with bows, arrows and metal weapons had inspired imperial Chinese leaders to construct their great walls. But one thing we can understand is that although the Chinese history shows that these ex-warriors were just few alpha males who were trying to run the entire show, but they were really courageous, they were really heroic. That is why, just to fight with them, these Chinese leaders had to construct the Great Wall. Okay, so some researchers have argued that X people formed a lesser shadow empire alongside imperial China, but that view is giving a way to a picture of X empire as a different, not lesser type of ancient state, say Yale archaeologist, William Honeychurch. Okay, funny name, but okay, all right. So what are we getting from this? Some people in China, or some historical documents in China have also said that they had a shadow empire. These X people had a shadow empire alongside the imperial China, so projecting China as superior and this as lesser. But we got to know that that view is false. Okay, William Honeychurch clearly says that they also had their own empire, an ancient state, and it is nowhere lesser than what China was. In this view, nomadic ex-elites developed a flexible system of political power that connected mobile groups with different genetic and cultural ancestries spread across extensive grasslands and forests. So what's this basically telling us? This is telling us that in X-empire, okay, there were lot of ethnic groups, okay, across geographies. So they were not concentrated in one place. In fact, there were a lot of different ethnic groups across a lot of different places. Elite lineages were not only an important part of the multi-ethnic X-state, but members of these lineages were sent to peripheral areas as a part of state integration. So basically what's happening, the elite, the nobles of this X group, they used to go across to all the different areas, okay, so that everyone stays integrated, everyone stays together. That is what we get to understand from here. Okay, one new study, for example, indicates that ex-women from elite lineages in central Mongolia served as princess emissaries to the empire's frontier. That means these women used to go as princess emissaries, someone carrying the messages from the kingdom to the borders, okay, assuming political power in distant territories populated by various ethnic groups. So each place had different ethnic group, and everyone was coordinated with, everyone was kept integrated in this system. This must have been an empire organized by moving populations. Okay, says some archaeologist Brian Miller of the University of Michigan in Ann Arbor. Ex-elites were savvy politicians. Savvy, what does this word savvy mean? Savvy means very wise. Okay, someone who knows how to navigate through tough situations. So they were savvy politicians who delegated power to keep the empire together. So they kind of gave particular power to each other so that the entire empire could be together. In another recent development, excavations in central Mongolia point to X people as early iron working innovators whose advances spread to their regional neighbors. These discoveries and others highlight the unappreciated complexity and the ongoing mystery of how X society worked. So basically what did we find out? We found out that, okay, these X people were also iron working innovators. That means they had great innovations in doing iron works. Okay, now these advances might have spread to the nearby places. Now when these advances have spread to the nearby places and they've flourished, that gives us more sense of thinking that these people, the X people, were unappreciated. They were not really appreciated for their contributions. And in fact, that thing brings us to think that there's some more mystery, okay, about how the X society actually worked. So now that we're done with the passage explanations, let's quickly go into the question explanations. The first question says, which of the following statements about X empire is most strongly supported by the passage? So which of these four is actually in line with the passage? A, its imperial expansion was entirely distinct from and in no way influenced by contemporary Roman or Egyptian practices. So frankly speaking, yes, we understand that it was distinct from, it was different from how Rome and Egypt actually came up, but was it influenced or not, we don't know. So since this part is given, we have to think that this is out of scope and we have to reject this answer. B, its political systems primarily relied on a central bureaucracy and sophisticated written language similar to agrarian empires. Again guys, agrarian means related to agriculture, right? So in this answer, one thing that I can clearly say is that obviously they didn't have a central bureaucracy, there was no one working office, there was no written language for sure, and they didn't want farmers, they didn't have farmers who would mass produce for them, right? So this is an opposite answer, so we can remove this. C, it represented a unique form of ancient state that achieved imperial scale without relying on traditional hallmarks of settled civilizations. Obviously, they didn't replicate anything of the settled civilizations, they had their own thing and they actually had a good state, right? So this could be my answer. Now let's look at D. Its complexity was largely unrecognized by early Chinese chroniclers who consistently portrayed it as a dominant military force. Now again, the complexity was largely unrecognized. Till that point, it's okay. But they didn't constantly portray it as a dominant military force, right? Instead, they told that it was a shadow state and all. So I can remove this as this is also opposite. So the best possible answer for us would be C. Let's go to the second question. The author's primary purpose in discussing the older view of X as simple confederation or a shadow state is to. So what is the purpose of the author to discuss this? Okay, in this particular matter. A, emphasize the historical dominance of imperial China over its nomadic neighbors. Again, the author has moved away from this view. This was an older view, and the way he has discussed this, he has clearly not been in the same state or the same tone as the option A. He's not saying that imperial China is dominant over its neighbors. So clearly this is a tone mismatch, so we can take it off. B, highlight how recent archaeological and genetic research is revising previous misconceptions about X people. So obviously this was a misconception that was there, and now we have evidence that, you know, this thing is wrong. So obviously B should be a better answer than A. C, critique the lack of reliable ancient records available for studying nomadic empires. Now see, if we are trying to critique the lack of reliable ancient records, then this thing would not have been accepted or rejected. In the passage, it's been rejected, right? So obviously, we are not critiquing anything. We're not saying that there's not enough evidence for us to see. We are only saying that we are doing more research, so we are able to find out more now. D, argue that X were in fact less developed than the settled empires like China. Nowhere in the passage has the author argued that X were less developed. In fact, the whole passage keeps talking praise about how X were more developed. In fact, X influence was seen on the rest of the neighbors is what's being told. So I can remove this as this is an opposite answer. The best possible answer will become B. Okay, so let's move to the next question, the third question. It can be inferred from the passage that a key characteristic of X empire's success in managing diverse populations was its. So what was the key to success? How did the X population actually manage to keep all the different ethnic groups together? That's what he's asking in the question. So let's look at A. Rigid enforcement of singular cultural identity across all conquered groups. First of all, he did not talk to us about conquered groups. Okay. Second, singular cultural identity, it was clear that there was multi-ethnicity, right? So this is an opposite choice. We have to remove this. B, ability to mobilize vast numbers of farmers for food production and administrative control. Again, there was no vast number of farmers whatsoever. They clearly told us that this society did not have farmers and bureaucracies. So this is also an opposite answer. We're going to remove this. Development of a flexible political system that integrated mobile and ethnically varied groups. Definitely, this actually makes a lot of sense because we're talking about, you know, different places or groups that were constantly moving and they had different ethnicities, right? So this was mentioned in the passage about X people. So this might be my answer. Now D, reliance on fixed urban centers as hubs. So there were no fixed urban centers as hubs. This was a nomadic tribe. So obviously this also is an opposite answer. So I'm going to remove this. Now the best possible answer for me becomes C. Let's go to the last question of this passage. Which of the following best captures the unappreciated complexity and ongoing mystery of how X society worked? So this is something that we've seen in the last paragraph. Okay, so just go back in the video and watch the last paragraph explanation. You would understand about this better. So what's he saying? A, the contradiction between the nomadic lifestyle and the sophisticated iron working abilities. No, see, we're not trying to see the contradiction about their nomadic lifestyle. We are seeing that despite the nomadic lifestyle and despite having such a multi-ethnic group, okay, how did they even have such a technological advancement? That is what we are being puzzled about. So definitely this should not be our answer. B, the vast number of still unexcavated and looted tombs making comprehensive study difficult. Again, See, there is some unappreciated complexity. That means that we have understood something, right? That means that we have gotten something. It doesn't show that, okay, there's still so much left. That ongoing mystery is about this part. So this becomes a very partial scope choice. And in fact, the unexcavated and looted tombs, this is just taken from the passage to confuse you guys. So please don't go into this option. This will be wrong. Let's go to the C option. The puzzle of how they maintained a large multi-ethnic empire without traditional state structures like cities or bureaucracy. So the puzzle is what is the ongoing mystery over here, and the complexity, the unappreciated complexity that he is asked in the passage is what it's about, the maintenance of a large multi-ethnic empire without traditional state structures. So this really captures the essence of what's being asked in the question. So C should be my correct answer, but let's look at D as well. The dispute among scholars regarding whether there were a lesser or merely different type of a state. So this dispute has never come up. He's clearly said that they were a different type of state. They were not a lesser state. Okay, so we can just remove this. Now the best possible answer becomes C. If you have stayed till here, then please drop a like. That motivates us to keep bringing these kind of videos for you every single day. Share this video with your friend who's constantly on YouTube searching for all the random tips and tricks that might help him for CAT, but is not focusing on the right thing. We'll see you in the next one.
Hope you enjoyed learning from today's session.
This series is designed to help you with your CAT preparation and practice daily. We are with you in this journey.
To watch the next video, click here. And to watch Gurukul's CAT 100 series, study room to boardroom, the entire playlist, click here.
If you learned from today's session, like, share, and subscribe.